Hello and welcome to the Unknown Comics Gaming Podcast. I'm Brandon, joined by Chris and Tanner. Hello, guys.
Howdy.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about games. Woo! Tabletop games specifically.
Yeah.
We did talk about video games on the normal podcast last week, but this is just for tabletop games. And so we kind of changed some stuff up. Tanner, will you kind of let them know what is new with the gaming podcast?
So we're starting a separate YouTube channel for our gaming content. I'll drop a link to that in the description so you can find us there and also subscribe there. And that's where all of your gaming, we will have the podcast there. That's where we're going to start dropping bat reps when we get to those. And
Unboxings,
all that good stuff will be right there.
Awesome. Yeah. So if you're all about the gaming content, that is one channel dedicated to you. You don't have to worry about all the comic stuff unless you want to, and then you subscribe to that one.
Yeah.
So,
and then, speaking of the YouTube, there's a pretty cool thing coming up with that.
So one thing that's happening this year is all these major tournaments have been canceled.
Yeah.
People can't get their fix in. So some of these really big YouTube channels are getting together. They're going to do, I think they're calling it, at one point it was going to be called Las Vegas Nopin, but now I think they're calling it No Retreat.
okay.
But it's hosted by SN Battles. It's also going to be attended with Mini Wargaming, Play on Tabletop, Winners SEO, Kirioth, Chapter Master Valrak, Tabletop Tactics, Hellstorm Wargaming, Vanguard Tactics, and Deployment Zone TV.
Wow.
All these guys are getting together. They're going to put on a tournament, and they're going to stream it. So that way, those of us who cannot get to a tournament because of COVID restrictions, we can at least watch some good games.
Yeah.
So these are guys that are from across the pond. I mean, they're quite different places. They're all coming together to try to do this. Hopefully,
yeah. I follow
able to
pretty
make it
heavily Chapter Master Valrak and Tabletop Tactics.
Yeah,
They're
Tabletop
probably my two
Tactics.
big ones.
Yeah.
But they're all cool guys, and they're getting together to put on this tournament so we can watch. They're saying that everything's supposed to be COVID safe. Mm-hmm. And they're trying to make it into a yearly deal so that way once restrictions ease up, they can open it to the public to come play as well.
Which would be really cool, I think, when they do that. So, pretty excited
to
see.
I'll drop a link to a couple of their pages in our description too, so you could get more info on that if you're wanting to tune in.
Yep. Yeah, pretty cool. I'm really excited about that.
That is cool.
Awesome.
It's
cool for the community.
It's kind of that world. That's just what we have to do right now.
You got to adapt.
Right?
You got to adapt.
And yeah, it's like you said, people are kind of hankering. This is what they watch while they're coding at work, or washing dishes. They kind of have it propped up and stuff.
If you can't get to a store, if you can't get anywhere to game, at least you can watch somebody game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of these guys, these are a lot of your play testers for the game currently. These are a lot of the guys that are doing what they can to make the game better for the entire community. So it's cool. I mean, they do a lot of these, tutorials. They do a lot of these things to help people understand the game better. So it's really cool to see them all getting together to actually make a tournament for the community. So
that is awesome. So, all right. Well, moving on. So, when this week? So we're recording this on Friday, the 22nd.
Should be dropping Monday.
So they've already previewed it in the Warhammer community page. Mm-hmm. But they've announced the Blade Guard veterans.
Yep. So the Blade Guard veterans, of course, this stuff has, as soon as the Indomitus box came out, we got this new set of models. And we've been waiting and waiting. And there's still quite a few things that they've announced that we haven't got yet. But finally, we're getting the multi-part kit for the Blade Guard veterans for Space Marines. I'm really excited about this one. I think a lot of people are.
They're way cool.
The models themselves, the way they play in the game, they're great. The things you can do with them, as far as the different positions, the putting the shield on the back. Of course, you saw a couple of the cool things there that we see them here in the Dark Angel colors as well. I mean, it's going to be pretty cool.
You'll be able to. There's so many poses you can do. Swords in both hands.
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff.
I think it's going to be really sweet to see what different people come up with, and of course, I'm sure there's going to be some more kit bashing and things like that as well. But
I'm a big kit basher. This is going to be a good kit for like making chapter masters and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then I've already seen we've got a guy here locally. He's kind of taken some of the old Death Guard Terminator shields and stuff like that, and he's throwing them on there, to make them look more legit for Dark Angels and things like that. So It's pretty cool. I think it's going to be really sweet to see what it all comes out
And how many
with.
models in the box?
Three models per box.
Okay.
You'll be able to
Is
start
that
pre-ordering
is
it
that how they
January
deploy
30th.
as well? And kind of
Yes.
Yeah.
3 to, I think it's 3 to 6.
It's usually double what the minimum
Yeah,
is.
it's usually 3 to 6 models.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, yeah, great thing. And then we kind of wanted to go a little bit more into a little bit lore today.
Yes. So
Brandon had a little bit of a.
So
an
for those watching the video, if we haven't created an audio version yet, because eventually these will get made into audio for people to go back and listen to, but you can see that these Dark Angel Primaris Marines are in Deathwing colors, and
now they are the Blade Guard veterans.
we were setting up for the podcast, and I'm a little triggered. Okay, just to say the least, because
Why don't you make sure everybody knows what your gamer tag is for everything?
Azrael. And that's exactly why.
He's got an obsession, people.
Yeah. It spurred on from other things. But yes, Azrael is my handle for a lot of things. And so I played Dark Angels back in 2nd edition. So that was back when pretty much, aside from you had vanilla Ultramarine, Space Marines, and any other chapters, and then you had Dark Angels, Blood Angels, and Space Wolves. Those were your only special chapters. Maybe White Dwarfs had rules for like Imperial Fist or something like that. That was probably about it. And the special rules were more so in their units. And one of the Dark Angels' biggest kind of unique units was the Deathwing. And they were basically the first company of the Dark Angels. They are the first company of the Dark Angels. And their kind of hallmark is they're all in Terminator armor. All your chapter masters and everybody. Terminator armor was kind of it, right? Yep. It was like it's a symbol of rank, in a lot of Space Marine chapters, but more so in the Dark Angels. And they were all in the bleach bone colors. It was in memoriam of what had happened to the Dark Angels chapter. I won't go into all that, but the big secret. But they were all Terminators. There was just nothing but 10 freaking Terminator squads, right? 10 squads per company, something like that. And Land Raiders. That was it. That was the first company. Then all your tax squads and Devastator squads, that's, 2nd through 9th company, right? So that's how it had been for years. Now, and I know even prior to, the Primaris 8th edition and everything like that, you did have the Knights, the Deathwing Knights, but they're still technically in Terminator armor. They're just not wearing the helmets, and they just have all sorts of weird weapons. I was cool with that. They're starting to deviate. They need to make more models. I get it. Then Primaris happens, and I have a really hard time with the Primaris lore to start. So let's get him up there. Yeah. Darren's being really loud in the background.
Studio walls need to be reinforced.
And part of what triggered me today was we have Primaris Blade Guard veterans. What the crap are they veterans of?
The Indominus Crusade.
And how long had the Indominus Crusade been going?
When it started in 8th edition.
We're in 9th edition. Let's talk about right now. These models just came out. So what's happening in the lore right now? How far are we past the Primaris being deployed?
About 12 years.
They're babies.
That's BS. They're not veterans of anything yet.
You fight one battle, you're a veteran.
Oh my gosh.
If you want to look at the definition of the word, you survive one battle, you're a veteran.
The connotation, though, is that these guys have been...
They're hardened, centuries old.
Exactly. They've been in the thick of it forever. And yeah,
they're millennia old. They've been in stasis for almost 10,000 years.
Right, which you did illuminate me on that. So for people that don't know, explain what... So in the current lore, without retcon...
Somebody's Siri
Hitting my
activated.
Siri button. I hate these watches.
She's trying to chime in on the conversation.
Tell me more about this lore, Siri.
So for those of you who have not read the first and the Dawn of Fire series, this is where that is. And spoilers, So Belisarius...
It's been out for a while, too late.
Yeah, you've had time to read it. Belisarius Cawl, he was given the orders from Gilliman to start on the Primaris project way before Gilliman was
in stasis.
Was in stasis.
Right.
So this was his secret project. Now that he's out of stasis, they're ready. So these Primaris have been gone through all the gene seed and, the second, whatever they call it, when they go from human to Space Marine.
When they start getting the surgery.
Yeah, they've gone through the surgeries and everything, and they've been sitting in stasis ever since. And since they've been in stasis, he's been running like these training scenarios through their brain. Like, it's dreams, but they think it's real.
You're still not a veteran. That's just training. You can be in boot camp for 10 years. You're still not a veteran yet because you haven't actually been in a battle.
But these guys have gray hair. They're old, Brandon. They're veterans.
And it does explain. It explains how
that doesn't make any sense. They were in stasis. They wouldn't have aged.
It explains how when they first get thawed out, their subliminal training just takes control. Like, they're not there all the way yet. Their brains haven't woke up.
Okay.
Their muscle memory is what's keeping them alive.
Okay.
When it comes to combat. And then they're put under command of a firstborn captain. And this captain is the one that is in charge of basically bringing them.
So a non-Primaris captain.
Yes.
Okay.
All of the Primaris report directly to this non-Primaris captain, and he reports to Gilliman.
Right. And so then, of course, Gilliman starts basically handing out every chapter's Primaris Marines after that, right? He's starting to go to the other chapter masters and say, hey, this is what we're doing.
Well, and he doesn't do that right off the bat either.
Right.
He takes his Primaris on the crusade with him.
Right.
And so they're fighting off Chaos and Xenos, and then they come across a chapter that needs to be reinforced. Then he leaves us a portion of the Primaris behind to enforce that chapter.
But he's leaving behind those that have that chapter's gene seed, though.
Yes. They only get, like...
So he's got all the chapters with him.
All of them, yeah. So what he does is, it's called Gilliman's Unnumbered Sons is what they are right now.
Yeah.
And what he does is, within the squads of the Unnumbered Sons, he mixes the gene seeds, so they learn to fight within the different styles.
That's heresy right there.
But then when they go off to actually join their official chapter, they are either reinforcing a chapter of their gene seed, or they're creating a new chapter of their gene seed.
Right. So this is technically like the fourth founding or whatever.
Yeah,
it's called the Ultima Founding.
They're
Ultima
definitely
Founding,
backing this up, with the new Space Marine Codex by, being able to create your own chapters, and they give you, okay, this is what your basically gene seed is giving you based on what they're good at and things like that.
Which you could always create your own second founding chapters, right? You would just use the Dark Angel list or the Blood Angel list, and this is my successor chapter of the Dark Angel.
You still do that, yeah.
Yeah, and you still can do that, but now they're literally giving you a way of saying, like, you have you have a special power that you get, and then you get kind of two little things underneath that. So now they've made this list of these things you get. Pick two of these.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's what your chapter is now. So it is kind of, in a way, more actually your chapter.
But successor chapters are probably going to be the only ones that still get like unique units and stuff. Because you would still have to go to the Dark Angels Codex to be Deathwing.
In that way, yes.
Ravenwing and stuff.
It'd be a successor of that chapter.
Right. Some successors have their own portions of the stuff, like Crimson Fist have their own roles.
Right.
So the way I play is I play the Last Wall Protocol, which is the secret order that Dorn gives before he dies, that if Terra's ever in need, all of the successors of him are going to come back and reform the Legion.
Right.
So I play my army,
which is heresy. Sorry.
I play my Space Marines as Imperial Fists, but within those I have painted Executioners, Black Templar, Subjugators.
Yeah.
All the Fists chapters.
I can't say that because freaking Azrael has called all the successor Dark Angels chapters into
Chaos.
Into one big thing before. So so then coming back, the reintroduction of Primaris into the main chapters, for each chapter is kind of, they have their different struggles with it, right?
Some of them take right to it, some of them not so much.
Probably, and a lot of it is the more unique the chapter is, the harder the harder a time of them bringing in the Primaris. So that's going to be the Blood Angels, Dark Angels, Space Wolves, right?
Space Wolves took to it.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, because there weren't very many of them.
I guess if the Primaris have fangs and
do you need
excessive body hair.
Yes. Okay, I've got these. Those will do it.
Which, exactly. And I don't think the Dark Angels had a hard time accepting the Primaris into the chapter. It's just can we bring them into the inner circle?
Right. I mean, because you have these Primaris that supposedly can't fall to chaos, and you're trying to take them into this chapter that's fallen to chaos.
It almost fell to chaos.
Yeah.
Most of it fell to chaos.
Yeah. Just fallen angels.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So there's obviously those trust issues, right? So Dark Angels harboring the secret that they did mostly fall to chaos, and all the stuff that comes with that. Do we trust them to bring them into the inner circle? Are they us? Right? There's very much a this is our burden and ours alone. Nobody else is going to take this. Are they us? And I guess there was a couple of battles where the Primaris showed themselves to be very much, they do show that they are part of Lion's gene seed.
Yeah.
They are Dark Angels. And so they do start letting the Primaris into the Deathwing and then into the inner circle. My thing is then put them in Terminator armor when they get into the Deathwing, because that's what that freaking company is.
They won't fit. They're too big.
Make Primaris Terminator armor.
They did. It's called Gravis.
Yeah, that's what they're in.
Yeah.
They're in Gravis armor. So it's a little bit, like I said, it gives them, as far as the gameplay goes, it gives them tougher, higher toughness. It gives them an extra wound.
Modeling wise, Blade Guard aren't in straight up Gravis armor.
Yeah, I guess that's right.
But
I mean, it's somewhere in
they
between.
they do get the higher stats.
Yeah.
Like they are. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then, of course, the big relic shield. And I mean, I guess that one's not a relic shield. That was a storm shield. But.
So another thing that has not, GW has made no official statement on one way or the other, but there's speculation that Call also made Primaris from the Fallen chapter legions.
So that means he would know that they exist. Oh, from the Traitor Legions.
From the Traitor Legions, yeah.
Oh.
So, because there's a Imperial Fist successor chapter called The Sons of the Phoenix.
Okay.
Their colors are white and purple. Phoenix is mentioned in the name of the chapter.
Right.
And they like to fight with swords.
So that
they're Emperor's children. I mean, they've made it so blatantly obvious they're Emperor's children, but then officially in the books they're
when did Gilliman commission Call to start collecting the gene seed?
Now this was after the Horus Heresy.
Okay,
but Call is a shady character.
Yep.
He does what he wants to.
In the name of the Omnis.
Where was he getting the gene seed from, too?
It doesn't straight up say.
Because he wasn't getting it from the Primarchs directly.
No. I think supposedly he got it straight from the Emperor's stock as gene seed.
Okay. That he created the Primarchs with.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's how it's so pure. And he's a shady character. He does what he wants. And he's like I think he is the highest rank tech priest.
Yeah, he is the Adeptus Mechanicus.
So he gets away with whatever he wants to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even when you see the little jokes, like, they made a little new video about all the new Primaris stuff coming out. It's like, stop making this stuff. And he's like, I'll do what I want. And he hits the little Primaris button,
So, like, if you look at it from the surface, the reason for the Primaris launch with 8th edition was a new model line, right? Mm-hmm. Larger scale, they can create more detail, do more dynamic stuff. A lot of the old Space Marine sculpts were just long in the tooth. Yeah, especially Space Olds. Get it?
There's a lot of models that are that way. Hopefully they'll be.
So they needed a new line, and I'm not questioning that or whatever. GW needs to sell models. There were people that had just tons and tons of Space Marines that were probably never going to buy more Space Marines. I mean, they'd buy, Deathwing Knights when new units came out, but they weren't going to trade in all their.
They weren't going to rebuild their army.
Yeah. So I get the need to go to Primaris. Now, they chose a lore route to do that I don't get. That it could have very much been just resculpt. This is a new MK version of the normal power armor, right? Instead of, and just call it, because there had been multiple iterations of power armor.
Yeah. I mean, you go back to your standard.
Yeah, you had beaks and you had nubs and you had grills and stuff like that.
I think they had to come up with something to keep the lore from getting stale, because it covers such a time span.
Yeah,
and it's not like comics where we get a 20-page issue of something that happens every month.
Yeah,
we get these full novels, and there's so many of them that they're facing the same problems as basically Superman. He's been around for 75 years.
Right.
How do you have new stories?
So I guess so. Now my thing is, so you're bringing Primaris into the lore, and
So also at the point when they brought in Primaris, the Imperium was facing so many threats, they needed a leg up.
Right.
They needed something so the Imperium could still be the main
Right.
faction in the galaxy.
And really, before they brought them in, like Space Marines weren't like nobody wanted to play Space Marines.
Space Marines, I know in
I
7th
think
edition they
this
kind of sucked.
This was a big way for them to be like, okay, like our staple is not our staple right now.
Right.
You know, how can we make sure that people are playing Marines? You know, I think this is a big way of doing
Yeah.
that. Because a new player like me, I haven't played in a long time. I love it. I mean, as a hobbyist, they're easier to paint. You know, seeing them on the table, they look really, really awesome. You know what I mean?
Right.
Nothing against the first gen stuff, but I mean, especially when you go up to like the Primaris dreadnoughts, the Redemptors, and
It's
you
so
look
much
at,
bigger than an old
You've
dreadnought.
got a little. I didn't realize until I put two of them together. You know, the regular dreadnought's like this tall. You know, he's not very.
I
maybe
think they're on the
couple
same
inches.
base size too, which is really funny.
Yeah, and then you see a Redemptor, and he's twice the height.
Second edition Terminators were on a standard base.
Yeah, I've got some, and
Yeah.
I've got some Deathwing in the other room. Right now,
So real quick, we'll talk about original Marines. I don't know what we're actually calling
First gen.
them.
Firstborn.
Firstborn Marines.
Firstborn, yeah.
So we'll put lore aside for a second. Put a pin in that. Game wise, what are the reasons to take Firstborn over Primaris? What advantages do you get?
Honestly,
or are there?
right now? There's not. They're almost interchangeable. They've made the rules interchangeable because they want to let people
Still play
their firstborns.
Okay.
And be a good option.
Before this, they all had 2 wounds.
Uh-huh.
They had an extra wound on a burst. Of course, weapon-wise, is still a difference.
Now-
the Primaris Marines can take better weapons in some cases.
When they first launched in 8th edition, there was no reason to take a firstborn.
Yeah.
Firstborn were just wasted points.
They were cheaper, but not worth what you saved, right?
right.
And even now, I mean,
Because Primaris would just mop the floor with anything.
point-wise, because they're all 2 points, 2 wounds now, point-wise, they're basically the same now. So, really, you just take what you want.
Yeah,
Okay.
they've made Space Marines where it's really cool. Take what you think is cool. It's not going to hurt you either way because they don't want to piss off their fans that have the firstborn armies.
That were set with their armies. Yeah.
I think what they're wanting to do is basically set it up to where, they're going to phase out as firstborns as far as you're not going to be able to buy them anymore outside
Right.
of probably Forge World. But you can...
Are they even on the website right now?
Yeah.
Oh, they are.
Oh,
Still?
yeah. You
Okay.
can still buy pretty much anything.
Yeah, everything's still stock being made. There's nothing that's, you can't still get that's just
I
a
do
regular
think
Marine
that
squad.
by the next... If not by 10th edition, by the following edition, there will be no more
They'll be
firstborn.
phased out.
But they want it to be where you could take a unit of TAC Marines and just call them intercessors.
Gotcha. Okay, so now lore-wise, what is happening with the firstborn's organs when they die? Are they recycling them, or do they just throw them in a 5-gallon bucket and say, if we need you?
That I know of that specific hasn't been addressed.
Yeah,
I think
that may be something
Gene
we're
Seed
gonna
is Gene
see.
Seed.
Yeah, we may see some more of that in the novels coming up, but I don't think that anybody's really talked about that yet.
Or is there something Call's doing to the firstborn gene seed to get it to?
So you can take a firstborn Marine and primarify them.
Okay.
It's very dangerous. That's why we haven't seen very many characters go through it yet.
So they're doing that to like named characters and stuff.
Uh-huh.
That makes sense.
That's Calgar's has been gone through the Primaris stuff.
I think Mephiston.
Mephiston did.
Yeah.
Torgaradon has.
Caradon, is that?
Imperial Fists.
Okay,
He's captain
gotcha.
of the 3rd company.
That's right.
So there's been
Ragnar.
Yeah, Ragnar's done it. There's
Yeah.
been several characters that have done it.
Right.
But supposedly it's this dangerous operation that might not work.
So only like the strongest.
So the strongest have done it. The reason they're saying Dante hasn't done it is because he's so old and so important to that side of the galaxy.
Yeah.
Because the galaxy is split, and he is basically ruler of the Imperial Nihilists. And they don't want to risk Dante dying. So he hasn't done it
His
yet.
model's so.
He'll do it
again. Lore reasons I understand, but like
They'll do it eventually.
tabletop, man, he needs a new model.
Is he still the 2nd edition model?
Yeah, he has
The
not
one,
changed.
the one leg flying in, like, well, they kept Azrael's model for years.
Yeah.
Like Azrael did not get a new one until what, 3 years ago, maybe.
Even if you still want to say he's first gen, give him a new sculpt.
Yeah.
I mean, he needs something.
So is that how they're actually marketing it? Is when they get a new sculpt, they've been Primarified?
Basically,
Yeah,
at this
because
point.
they're show when they resculpt them, they're in the new armor.
Yeah, they're new armor.
And they're the
their
bigger
base size
scale.
has changed. Yeah, I mean
Right.
they're bigger, just like the Primaris guys are.
Yeah. So y'all talked me down off a ledge a little bit. I get it a little bit better. And I see it from your perspective. It needed to add drama to the timeline, right? If it was just an improvement to the existing Marines, yeah, they could have written it that way, but it probably wouldn't have been as dramatic.
There's only so much you can do in the 40K setting right now.
Yeah.
Without it getting, you got to do something to keep it from getting stale.
Right.
Or all you're going to have is they're going to keep going back and writing 30K stuff, which is fine.
Yeah.
But if the Firstborn lore from here on out, I think needs to stay within the 30K and the coming up to yeah.
So do you think they just quietly just stop talking about the Firstborn? Like they don't really ever address it. They just fade away.
I think that's going to be how it happens. So that way people can, if you do it that way, it's open-ended, so people can still play with their Firstborn stuff.
Right.
And say, these guys are just still alive.
Yeah, I mean, it's
You
not
know?
like the chapters themselves are going away.
Right.
It's just that style of fighter is going away.
Yeah.
Again, I think overall, as the hobby goes along, it's easier.
Well, and that's one thing I think they've always done with their lore is keep it open-ended so we can make our own conclusions.
Right. Now, so with Primaris Marines coming in, there was also Primaris vehicles that came in. A lot of
And
the.
they're all grav. Most of the tanks are grav tanks.
So, are we going to see that same shift for Space Marines going forward to where all the tracked vehicles and stuff
To some degree.
fade away? Because Primaris can't fit in a Rhino, right?
Yeah, that's the big thing is you can't take Primaris Marines in a regular transport like a Rhino. Now, you're not going to
No.
see them go away completely because Sisters of Battle still use the Rhinos. Chaos Marines still use these
Imperial Guard.
all those vehicles. Imperial Guard use their stuff like Chimeras and
Yeah, that's right, they
Leman
don't.
Russ and things like that. But a lot of other factions still use those track
And
vehicles.
that was explained with Call has this. He doesn't believe in the Martian way of sticking to what we have. He is an innovator, so he is bringing new technology to the stagnates of the Imperium.
Yeah, which was that in itself was like heresy for the AdMech, right? You know,
Right.
Because
And
they don't want
it
any
even
of
it even
that's-
addresses
That's Eldar witchery
Yeah.
to float a tank above the ground.
it
Yeah.
even addresses that, like how there's a huge chunk of the Mechanicum that does not like him and thinks he needs to be taken care of.
Yeah, so and a lot of people actually is like with the Primaris bikes that just came out.
I think they should have been grabbed.
They assumed that they were going to be grav like everything else has been, and I think it would have been really cool to see that actually.
But then again, you say that, but then you're jumping into Eldar territory, right?
Jet bikes.
Well,
Exactly.
But the Custodes have jet bikes.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
So they do want to release these new models, but the Imperium's the only one that's still their aesthetic was always still the grounded tires and tracks and stuff like that. So if everybody is grav,
Yeah, and it, like there's been some things like they've taken fly keyword out of quite a few of these.
I guess
things
orcs
that
are
used to
still
have
tracking
them.
wheel.
But there's still Primaris speeders that are coming out. We haven't got those yet, and they look pretty cool. We're still waiting on Primaris heavy intercessors, which is
Somewhere between a Terminator and an Intercessor.
somewhere just a little more bump in the armor there. So I mean
It used to be so simple. It used to be Tac, Assault, Devastator, Terminator. Like that was it. Scouts.
Well,
Yeah, scouts
and
were
it's still the same way, but now it's a Primaris Marine. They have blah, 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 whatever it is. you
Right.
know? So it's still this Primaris armor, Gravis armor. So there's really actually only two of them. There's not another armor for
Yeah, there's
Primaris.
the Phobos armor.
Oh, yeah, Phobos armor, which just gives them, they're more like,
They're the scouts.
yeah, they're ninja.
They're pre-marine still.
No, they're not pretty. So the
They're
thing
still
with
full blown there.
no.
yeah.
So here's the thing with the Mark. It's Mark 10 armor. Mark 10 armor is it can be loaded out as any of the variants. So
Okay.
the Primaris are more diversifiable. If they need to go on a stealth mission, they put on the Phobos version of the armor and go do the stealth mission. If they are facing heavy resistance, they put on their Gravis armor and go take care of business.
Gotcha.
Their armor is interchangeable.
Modular.
It's not so much to do with rank as the Firstborn armors had to do more with their rank.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. So, how long until we see Chaos Primaris armor?
I don't think we'll see it.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are, and
Because
even
they
though
up-
that there is Adeptus Mechanicus Chaos, there's quite a few of them that didn't like what was happening and they left. But they're also more kind of, no, we want our stuff to stay the way it is, traditional.
So,
I
well,
don't know if we'll see the upgrades.
Primaris are supposedly not able to fall to Chaos. They're uncorruptible, in theory.
Yeah,
They haven't crossed that bridge yet.
That's a future plot point of drama, right?
Right.
What
But
shouldn't have happened is happening. How are we going to react?
what
to
they
it?
did game-wise is the new Chaos models are Firstborn Marines, but they upped the scale to match the Primaris. So I don't think we'll see Primaris.
Which
Chaos.
and I think that's good because for so long,
Now,
every Space Marine unit had a Chaos analog, right?
they did do a set of rules in the War of the Spider book, which was one of the Psychic Awakening.
Awakenings, yeah.
Fabius Bile can take Primaris type units.
And
Okay.
they even kind of gave him the sculpt upgrade too, where
Yeah.
he got, he's a bigger model now. Like some of
But
these other
he is
guys.
not. He's chaosy, but he's not.
Right.
He just doesn't like the Imperium
Right.
because he disowned Fulgrim and the rest of the Emperor's children. He's not a true follower of chaos.
Right. Kind of like Cypher and stuff like that. Yeah.
He's more into his own thing anyway.
So
Yeah.
So you could probably do something that route where they're
No, I think that's great. I think Chaos, like I was saying, is there was always the analogs, right? You had Chaos Attack Marines, Chaos Assault Marines, Chaos Devastators,
and it's cool,
and
but
then you had Chaos Terminators, and I like, but one thing you always saw with them is they were always in the older MK versions of the armors, right?
I mean, even the new Death Guard, they're still modeled in Mark III armor.
Yeah, which is great, and I like that because it makes sense for them that they stopped innovating technology because they're accepting the marks, right? That their power creep and growth comes from
It's the chaos.
the
Warp
chaos
spaghetti.
gods,
Yeah.
exactly. And so it would make sense that the chaos gods are responding in kind, right? But they're doing it their way. They're not doing it through a gene seed upgrade or a technology upgrade. They're doing it because
Gameplay wise, they've done the same thing. The normal Marines are going to be 2 wounds.
Yeah.
So they're still going to be on that. Now, Death Guard are the only ones that have gotten that so far. Of course, still don't understand.
Tomorrow. We'll get it tomorrow.
Yeah, I still don't understand why Chaos Marines weren't first. Because I
just
figured,
like undivided.
yeah, because they're probably going to do it the exact same way. They're going to have a Chaos Codex.
No, they're not. Or else Death Guard wouldn't be getting a Codex.
I don't think that they're including all that stuff. I think that they're still going to do supplements.
Was Death Guard a supplement or was
No,
it a full?
it's a
It's a
full
full
it's a full blown
codex.
codex. But I think they're choosing to use these key words again, pretty heavily, even in the Death Guard. So I think we'll see supplements off the main codex, but it won't be for every chapter of the codex.
Well, I would
Chaos.
think the favored chapters. Well, there's enough. It's not like Space Marine. It's not like the difference between Ultramarines and Dark Angels, right? There's still Codex Space Marine chapters. That's just Dark Angels had just a little bit different. The difference between a Chaos Undivided chapter and a Nurgle chapter
Yeah, it's
and
too
Death
great.
Guard. There's no other
So-
legions.
The reason that I wanted them to do the supplements on the Chaos side is so that as a Death Guard player, I get access to the new Chaos models sooner. Because I still don't have, I still can't use the latest round of Chaos models in my Death Guard.
Yeah,
And you won't be able to.
I think it should be that way. I think the Chaos Gods hate each other enough that you should not be allowed. They're not unified like the Imperium to me.
Well, no.
unless you're Chaos Undivided.
No, but I want access to all the different demon ninjas, not just the one, the 2 that Death Guard had.
Yeah.
Well, you could take alliances, but you won't be happy about it because
No.
you won't have those keywords.
Right.
So
And that fits to me with Chaos though. How the 4 Chaos Gods interact with each other. They are not allies. They just have they don't even really have common goals.
It does lore-wise, but gaming-wise,
Yeah.
you're shooting yourself in the foot because you can sell more models.
But and see, I understand that, but at the same time, like they've been so focused on the lore with the way the gameplay is right now, like the fact that captains aren't just giving rerolls to themselves and other leaders now. And
I think that's dumb too.
I do, but at the same time, but they're doing that because that doesn't make sense on a battlefield.
Right.
Why would that happen? Why would he
But
be
it does
taking
make
orders from somebody that's subordinate to himself? you know?
Well, it doesn't make sense for a lieutenant to give a captain, but it does make sense for a captain to give a lieutenant.
Yeah, see, that part I think was like,
It
wait,
does also make sense for a captain to give a tank because a tank is still piloted by a person.
if the hierarchy of some of it didn't make sense, but the overall reason they did it made sense for me. So
was the main justification just rule simplification at that
No,
point?
it was
or
to
just-
keep you from. It was to keep people from spamming executioner tanks and getting rerolls.
Oh, gotcha.
that and the fact that it's again, the less dice you're rolling, the faster the game is going to go.
Right. No,
So-
that totally makes sense.
So that's another thing is they're taking away some of that out. Games faster.
Yeah.
That's a big focus as well. Games faster.
So to kind of wrap a bow on all this, do you think eventually we just stop calling them Primaris Marines? Do we eventually? Are they just?
I think you'll call them what squad names: intercessors, assault intercessors, infiltrators.
Yeah.
They'll just be more of what their squad name is. I don't. I mean, you call them Marines. I mean, I think some people you may say that to somebody right now and they'll say what kind, and then you can say Primaris or first gen or whatever. But
I'm still going to call them Tactical Assault and Devastator. There's just no way around that.
no, they don't even have.
Well, they don't fit those roles anymore.
Yeah, they don't have.
Because your Devastator's squad has been broken up into Hellblasters and
Which is just all plasma rifles.
all plasma. There's
Full squad of plasma rifles.
so
Which the Devastator squad was like attack squad with up to what, 4 heavies, 4 heavy weapons on a 10-man.
And you know, and
Yeah,
if you're looking for
they-
specifically for one of those things, you're still going to go to one of those things.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, the things they've kind of put in there for Primaris are great, but like, there's still not a dedicated Devastator squad where you can go and get las cannon guys or missile launcher guys or those. There's not that for Primaris yet.
Okay.
But what they've been doing is they've taken the Devastator squad and taken the individual weapon options and made their own units.
Yeah. So, but then again, at that, you're just saying you've got 3 guys with those 3 weapons, and that's what they have. There's no diversity in that squad.
Which probably is a result of people just maybe never did that, and they're just creating squads based off of what they saw people were actually
Which
fielding.
also that goes into make games faster because you have less weapons per squad.
Yeah.
It rolls faster, and it's
rolls
also
faster.
easier to remember
Goes together.
what the
has
stats
what.
are.
Yeah.
And then I think also like these squads, you have 3 guys. Those guys have 3 wounds each. You got nine wounds, so you have less models on the board. Instead of having 10 guys with 10 wounds, you have 3 guys with 9 wounds.
Yeah.
So there's no extra dead models just sitting there like literally. Well, these guys are too far out of range, so I can't use them. They're just kind of sitting there to take cannon fire when it comes.
Yeah.
So that in a way is making it faster as well because it's less time setup, less time movement, less time this. So less time painting if you're, thinking about the hobby side of things. So I think overall, I mean, like I said, if you still want a Devastator squad, they're still very effective. I've seen them be very effective.
Yeah.
But there's not a thing for that.
Now
The other side.
the one thing that I want to see added to the Primaris line that just speaks Space Marine that they don't have is drop pods.
Yeah, and I think that's something they really, really need.
That is a Space Marine tactic to
That's a
drop
need.
out of from space in
Right.
a pod, but Primaris will not fit in a regular drop pod, and
Yeah.
there's no Primaris drop pod.
That's a big need for the game for Primaris people.
Now, I wouldn't say it's a need for the game because there's other ways to put your units in reserve.
If you're a person that wants to build only Primaris,
Well,
I
you
would
can
say.
there's still you can spend command points to get your units in reserve and get them anywhere on the table.
Yeah.
It's just that's what Space Marines do. They drop out of ships and drop pods.
Yeah.
so it would be cool to see that.
I'm a second edition player, so that wasn't a thing.
Yeah, drop pods came 4th?
Something like that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
Well,
they're 4th.
and-
Deep Strike was not a thing.
Yeah, and then now Deep Strike is
Well,
like,
I say that. No.
Deep Strike was there.
that was unique to Terminators.
Yeah.
Was what
Yeah.
it
I was
was.
gonna say it was just very, very small.
Yeah.
And the deviation on that stuff sucked. Now you Deep
can
Strike
deep strike anything if
yeah,
you want to.
Yeah, they're there. Okay, cool. There's no scatter, nothing like that anymore.
Yeah.
So, which is crazy to me. Because
So-
that made such a big impact on the game.
So then the next thing is, so I said that was going to be the last thing, but I had another thought bubble. There was a very big lore reason to do a model relaunch, right, for the Space Marines. They wrote this huge narrative around why we're totally changing the rescopes. But you've said like Chaos is getting that, but they're not really they're not tying that to a big lore event, right? It's just happening,
Right.
Yeah,
right?
It's just keeping the game on,
Do we
a competitive level.
Do
kind
we
of thing.
see them doing that with any other factions, having an actual lore-driven reason for a full model relaunch?
Necron's definitely got that with the awakening of more dynasties. The main dynasty awakening finally, bringing in new models, bringing in new sizes. All the destroyers they just came out with Necrons, so that for sure has already gotten that. I mean, I think that they need to do that if they don't want to. Game wise, they need to because so many
they definitely
things
need
are out
the
of
new,
date.
new models. I don't know that they need lore reasons for new models.
Yeah, I don't know about lore reasons, but sculpts and stuff, they need it.
Right.
Because a lot of what the Primaris fixed was the scale.
No, I would say
when your Imperial Guard is the same size as your Space Marine when they're supposed to be 8 feet tall.
Right.
So the Primaris fixed that.
I think with, like this last year, we finally see the full-blown Sisters of Battle plastic. Finally. Adeptus Mechanicus finally getting a huge model line compared to, maybe having 4 or 5 things. Now they have a lot of different things they can take. I think we'll see that. Dark Eldar has a pretty good line. But I think we'll still see...
All of the Eldar is old.
Yeah, I think we'll see, even if it's not new models, redos will be great to see for that.
Out of all the faction, the Eldar are the ones that need models.
I think the Harlequins are probably one of the newest.
Yeah.
Of the sculpts and of things, which, I love that.
I don't even like Space Elves, but I'll let Space Elves get their models.
Yeah,
I
think Dark Eldar, Eldar, Jakar, whatever you want to call them, those two armies definitely need it. Tau,
because a lot of
not so much. I mean, I think Tau's fine.
Well, they're one of the newest armies.
Yeah, I mean, the 5th edition, I think 6th edition.
You say that
it's still old.
Tau's been around for what? 10, 15 years now. Almost?
Yeah, it's still older now, but we're not talking about 90s old.
Right.
As far as the sculpts and stuff go, you think Imperial Guard. I mean,
they look like they fit with the newer models as far as
they're still clean,
aesthetic wise.
So
is AdMech the newest full faction?
Or
is that or is there some other Imperial offshoot?
I think I can't think of
the
Custodes.
Custodes
and the Grey Knights would be before that.
Grey Knights were in 2nd edition.
Well, I mean, as far as actually being used on a big basis, having an army line, codexes of their own, I think they were probably 5th or 6th edition, Grey Knights somewhere in there, but then 7th and 8th. I know Table's Edge is when Grey Knights really started that timeline.
Right.
Grey Knights
back in the Death Star era. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think Adeptus Mechanicus is... I mean, Sisters of Battle.
Sisters of Battle is the newest.
Because this is the first time they've had their own big codex.
They're one of the oldest. They were in 2nd edition.
Again, yes. But from what's going out
they
right
haven't
now,
had a playable codex in the last several editions.
Right. There was enough of a moratorium on it that they're essentially a new faction.
And, this time, as far as... I mean, they've had models in the past, pewter models, but they have a full-blown line now.
Yeah.
And they haven't had that. With the Penitent Engines, the actual Battle Sisters, the Cephia, the big... terrain piece, the St. Catherine. I mean, they have all these crazy cool models that they have, and they don't have to worry about bringing IG along with them or bringing a Marine squad with them, or anything like that. They're their own thing, and they don't need anybody else.
Do you think at this point does GW introduce any brand new factions that are not offshoots of existing factions? They've had plenty of that, Custodes, the Yanari, all these little kind of splinter factions. Do you think it would
Imperial wise? I would say no.
Right.
I
maybe
think we're going to see
some other
Xenos
or something like that. Maybe. What did you say?
I think we'll see splinter factions before we see anything new because they still have 2 Chaos Gods that don't have their own anything.
Right.
Yeah, I don't see, especially Imperial wise, because like I said, Adeptus Mechanicus, Sisters Battle, those 2 things were back to back this last year.
It's pretty well covered. All of the,
and then of course the Primaris and all this stuff they've been releasing for Marines.
Yeah,
now, I think we'll still see some more Primaris stuff, but
I think we would see a new alien threat.
Yeah, it's something Xenos.
Yeah, which I never understood why they needed to bring the Tau in. Like it's just there are so many threats in the galaxy. And they're brought in as the kind of pseudo good guy faction, right?
Yeah.
To kind of balance the scales a little bit. But
I think you could say like I want to play an alien race, but I don't want to play a Tyranid buggy. I still want to feel like I'm the good guy.
Yeah,
and I think that's kind of where the Tau came in. And it's still an alien race that's like kind of like Marines.
Yeah.
Well, and so much of their stuff is like blatantly to appeal to a certain type of fan. The tower, they're trying to get your anime fans.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I
get it.
can see that too.
You know, tier,
You got your kind of a Gundam. Yeah, I got that.
Battle suits and all that stuff. But it's like, we have orcs. That's the only... I mean, orcs and space elves, those are the only aliens you need. You don't need space skeletons and...
bugs.
Which, I say that. Necrons were tail end of 2nd edition, too, but...
And
Oh, yeah, you do need Tyranids. Tyranids definitely have that.
Well, I think if you go off of, what the entire game was based off of, you kind of have to have bugs.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go all the way back to, what they kind of were like, hey, we're going to use this as kind of our backdrop and make all this happen. Yeah, chaos was there, but the bugs were the issue.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So, moving on. Let's. That's pretty much it for what we're covering this week. Let's go ahead and talk about what we're going to be looking at next week, what we've got coming down the pipe.
We're recording this on Friday.
Friday the 22nd.
The big preview is tomorrow.
yep, Saturday.
So we'll watch that, and we'll spend a good portion of next week's show going over the big preview.
Yeah,
So what is speculated to be revealed?
Supposedly there's going to be new information on
a new game, from what I've heard.
I do know there's going to be stuff about the new elves.
Okay.
The new elves we've been seeing.
Because there's been potato photos of these high elves riding
Kangaroos.
That's what they call them,
Yeah,
potato photos.
It's just funny.
The kangaroo riders.
Kangaroo Riders. And then, like I said, there's speculation that they're supposed to be launching a new game.
Okay.
Don't know if it's going to be tomorrow, but a lot of people are hoping it's going to be the Gothic game.
Right.
That
It's one of the. There's basically 2 specialist games out there that were popular that they haven't hit again, and that's Battlefleet Gothic and Mordheim. Mm-hmm. Those are the 2 remaining. They brought Necromunda back, they brought Blood Bowl back, and Warhammer Quest has all come.
I think just these box contained games. There's so much to those now that people really do like.
Yeah,
I don't know that it'll be this preview, but I think we should be getting a really big Old World preview this year. Just because it's, I think it's the 40th anniversary of Old World of Fantasy.
right.
So hopefully I don't think we shouldn't be getting the game itself this year, but we should be getting a lot of info about it.
So let's take our let's call it now. Let's take our bets now. So Warhammer: The Old World drops. Rule set wise, does it go back to rank and file formations like Fantasy Battle, or is it a modified version of Age of Sigmar just set back? That rule set back in the Old World.
I would enjoy that more, but I don't know. They might go rank and file.
Yeah,
It's going to be a Forge World game, not a GW game.
And from what I understand, it's going to be special order only. Forge World, go down to it, or you had to go to a GW store to get the stuff,
or go to eBay and get all your old
because
Fantasy Battle medals.
I can tell you now, it's going to be a lot more complicated than Sigmar because 30K is a lot more complicated than 40K.
Yeah,
Which Sigmar or 30K is still a branch off of 7th, right?
It has not been updated since 7th.
Yeah, so. And again, all those models, Forge World models, and they have some really cool sculpts, really cool stuff. And I've seen some people kind of, I'm going to use this in 40K, and most people don't care.
Well, most of those models have 40K rules.
Yeah, so I mean, it is cool to see that old stuff, and to see the different models that they have for that. So it's exciting to also see this because I mean, there's a lot of people that still really want that. The rank and file and all that kind of stuff. That's what they loved. That was their passion.
Well, like Kings of War came out right when they cut Fantasy because so many people still wanted.
Well, they saw an opening and went for it. Which a lot of the Mantic guys are former GW too. So yeah, they saw that gap in the market and said, yeah, we can fill that. And their rules showed that. Like you literally, there was an analog for every GW model you wanted to take before Mantic really built up their Kings of War line. That was the goal. You were just going to bring your Fantasy Battle models that you weren't using for
one thing. I use them now.
Yeah, and now you can use them here. So and I think they've probably kind of moved away from that a little bit to kind of sell their own models and stuff like that. But in that interim, you could at least get your fix of rank and file. But maybe GW sees that and says,
that's still ours.
Or
mine back.
That, or they just say they can have rank and file. Age of Sigmar is playable. It's easy to play. Maybe they pull a Necromunda, 2 separate rule sets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's possible.
And
You
throw them both out there and see which one kind of.
Because personally, I would enjoy the skirmish game better.
Yeah.
But I enjoy the setting of Old World
Which
better than Age of Sigmar.
Fantasy Battle had that. There were always skirmish rules that every edition a skirmish version would come. So that's why I'm saying it could be possible that they give you both, right? They give you that rank and file, but then they give you a way to play more like that Sigmar-y
which I think is funny because a lot of Sigmar people still play a lot of their stuff on trays, which I think is funny.
Old habits die hard.
Yeah, they custom make trays just to put these people in.
When you got 40 rats, you got to move. You got 40 rats, you
I can understand with the rats, right? But I mean, even a squad of you see 8 guys and they're sitting on the tray. Give me
which watching Sigmar, they all cluster into a freaking furball anyway. Yeah. So they are still technically moving in units. It's just, because now I almost like 40K and Sigmar. Yes, they're skirmish games. When you look at it compared to what Fantasy Battle was, yes, 40K was always the skirmish version of what Fantasy Battle was. But to me, skirmish is more so like Necromunda, Infinity, where
it's smaller,
where all the models are independent of each other, right? With few exceptions that you just don't have.
You don't have the same coherency within this guy and that guy.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think 40K and Sigmar are kind of this weird middle point where they're not really rank and file, but they're not truly skirmish. They're kind of skirmish and file or whatever, that they're kind of that.
Yeah, you're still using them as units, but there's only so far away they can go from each other.
Right. To me, a true skirmish game is everybody is one unit, and they're just operating. The scope is they're just operating however they need to. So anyway, so that's coming up next week. We'll talk about that, and then if there's anything you'd like to talk about, leave a comment or make a comment in the comments.
Yeah,
where you would
leave a statement down there in the comments.
Yes, exactly. Type the text.
Yeah.
In there and let us know. Are there things you'd like us to discuss and talk about? We are totally open to your suggestions, and you can join in the conversation as well by doing so. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the new channel that Tanner's going to be linking.
Unknown Gaming.
Unknown Gaming, and then of course we do also have our other podcast, the Unknown Comics Podcast, where we talk about all things fandom. We have a good time talking about.
And if we talk anything that you are interested in, go to our website. And you can buy it there.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, we do our best to make sure everything's on there. Social media wise, if you want to follow us, look for @Unknown Comic Books on Instagram and Facebook, @Unknown_Comics on Twitter, and then of course, like I said, our website unknowncomicbooks.com.
And Tanner, what are we going to be? What content can they be looking forward to down the pipe?
So our goal now is to start putting content out every day. I don't know that it's going to hit both channels, but it's for sure going to hit our main channel every day. Yeah. We're looking at having top 10 picks of stuff, lore videos,
unboxings, deep dives into books.
Yeah.
So we have quite a bit of stuff.
So for those that don't know, Tanner is now full time at the company. So
Darren gave me a title last night, but it was really long, and I don't remember what it was.
Content creator is the easy thing.
Yes, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So be looking forward to a lot more stuff coming, guys. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Later.
Thank you.